Hi everybody! Today we are talking about 6 mistakes every beginner artist makes in digital art. Please note that the phrase every beginner artist is obviously an exclamation, and it does not mean that actually every beginner artist has to make these mistakes, but these are just some common mistakes I noticed looking at other people's old art on the internet, and also including mine. I made those mistakes too. This is also why we are using my art as examples for those mistakes. So let's just dive right into it with the first mistake, which is too saturated colors. For the first mistake, we are starting with this drawing of this girl with this beautifully green shirt. Yeah, the first thing you will notice is that that shirt is green. Incredibly green. And I totally get that you, aka me, wanted to try to show that this shirt has a bright green, but honey, you can show a bright green without having to use an actual bright green. Because looking at that picture in a whole, like, there are so many things that are just way too saturated. It just feels eerie, it feels unpleasant to look at, kind of like hurting in your eyes. And I can easily show you the difference while switching over to a little redraw I already made of that drawing, where you can see right here, the shirt still looks green. It still looks like it's a really bright green, but it just, isn't. At least not as much. If we just color pick this green and go over here, going back to that, we're using this and I'm just going over it, you can see how much less saturated this green is. But if you're just slightly toning down everything and making it just a bit more of a more pleasant color palette to look at, it will still appear as a bright green without hurting your eyes. Number 2, transparency. Therefore, we're going to look at this picture of this beautiful mermaid. Generally, I guess the first thing you will notice is that she has no hands, but that is not the thing we're going to talk about. She just has no hands. Accept it. No, the problem which I want to talk about, like I said, is transparency. And yes, it does look completely opaque right here, but the point is, let me take away the lowest layer, which is just a flat color, and suddenly you see everything. And that usually comes from the problem that many beginner artists tend to color their pictures this way. They color it like it's a coloring book. Yeah, the problem is this will at the end pretty much always have transparent parts to it, just because you are not always using full pen pressure. You are gently going over your pen display or graphic tablet or normal tablet. You're not pressing all your force in there, and therefore you're also not using full color transparency. That was wrong. You're also not using full coverage, and therefore having more transparency. Think smart, not hard. And now if you look at it, you maybe would be thinking like, yeah, well, whatever, I do have that layer underneath, so here's the problem. Well, I would personally always say try to draw the way that you can easily take away the transparency without ruining the whole picture, because this is also just way better for when you want to continue working with that picture in other medium, like if you want to use it for a different design. And obviously for a drawing like this, where you are covering the whole canvas with the drawing, it does not hurt as much if you do have that layer underneath. But I know many people want to make their own sticker. And for a sticker, you are not, I mean, maybe you do, but like there are stickers where you would not use the full canvas. You would have like maybe only her, and then everything else would be gone. Like there would be only her, and then we get this, and that is not what we want. So for this, we also have a really, really easy solution, and that is the bucket tool. The bucket tool gives you an even flat surface which has no transparency going on. So that is the way to go for number 3, line art. Especially we are talking about this really sketchy, wobbly and scratchy line art, which just does not show any confidence because there usually is no confidence in it. And I can totally understand it, especially if you're starting with digital art and you are especially not having a pen display but a graphic tablet. You really need to get the hang of it first, because the feeling of drawing with that is immensely different than drawing on paper. But you can practice that, and I can also show you the difference, what it makes to have strong lines compared to those sketchy lines. We are going closer to this beautiful lip moment, I guess. We're just going over it. In the best case, you are not lifting your pencil while making that line, so it is really, really confident. Beautiful thing about digital drawing, you can flip the canvas to match the stroke direction you are more comfortable with. So we come like this, continuing like this. And immediate, that drawing looks just way more confident. And an easy way to practice this is by making long lines across the screen and try to make them all stable, not like this. And then you go over them again, try to copy them as much as possible. I did not train this enough, which is sad. So yeah, and that is how you are practicing your line confidence. Yeah, you practice your line confidence and your drawings will immediately look way better. Number 4, blur tool or airbrush. A huge amount of newbie artists in digital art rely their lives on the blur tool. Here I used the blur tool, I used the blur tool quite a bit. It's most noticeable on the jacket, but you can also see it right here going on. Yep, looks weird. And the blur tool, just using the blur tool always gives an incredibly unpolished look to it, because it just does not reflect how lightning would actually work, because they are soft and there are hard shadows. So there are still many great artists that still use the airbrush their day-to-day drawing routine, but the big but, they also use hard edges, not just the soft edges. And therefore the blur tool is also, the airbrush tool is not feeling misplaced. But especially if we look at that leather jacket right now, it does not look very leathery, it does more look like latex, but like weird latex, and really round and squishy. Just not what it was supposed to look like, because it was supposed to look like. And yeah, think about hard edges. Now 2.5. And we can just continue staying at that drawing actually, because we are talking about shadows. Especially because beginners have 2 ways they tend to do their shadows. It's either, like it's in my way too light, or the good old black, straight up black. This is something I actually have never done, but I have seen it so often, that people just use basic black shadows, like you can see right here. this is how people would do the shadows. But probably not even that wide, but you can see the effect of the black shadows. It looks incredibly dirty. It does not look like a shadow, but like if she rolled around in ashes or got burned at that point. That is not the look you want, because there are no real black surfaces in real life. Because there's always light reflecting from some point, from some surface, giving that black surface a tint of color. So using black as a shadow is just not going to work. Don't use black. And then there is the problem, which I had, like you can see, those shadows are incredibly light. They have no confidence. So I'm just going to show you with this shirt how the shadows could look. So yeah, taking away the actual OG shadows, picking the color, and I'm going incredibly darker. I mean, it should still look good dark, but we can go way darker. That's the point. And then we have, I need to change away from that tool. Whatever, now it's there. And we put confident dark shadows, which we can define later on. But like, they are there. They look like they belong because they are put the way that you think they belong, that you say, yes, these shadows are supposed to be here. That is how it's supposed to look. So yeah, I know it doesn't look perfect, but I think you get the message. And now to the last point, number 6, being too lazy in the wrong way. Because let's be honest, digital art is a way to make the art process way easier and way faster, because you can be lazy at some points. I mean, you've got the bucket tool, for example. You do not have to fully fill in a space by hand. You can just use the bucket tool and be like, there, be full. And it is full. So yeah, beautiful. But I was especially lazy talking about backgrounds. You can see that in this picture right here. And I was, like I said, lazy in the wrong way, because I am somehow drawing this really weird. I was trying to get this out of focus look, like that she is the focus point of that picture, of that illustration, and she is in focus, but the background is out of focus. It is in blur mode. Yeah, keep that word in mind. Excuse me. Yeah, but I was just smudging the background, and therefore it looks like, I guess it looks smudged, looks kind of dirty again. And I mean, I guess it would work if you are underwater. Underwater it would beautifully work, but like, she's at a diner, there's no water behind her. It is just a diner. And you can see that I drew out the background and then smudged it. But the point is, I could have just not smudged it and therefore used that certain tool we talked about before, which I'm like, don't. You can, but like, not really. But you can be lazy, and that is by using the blur tool, because it does actually look like out of focus then. But like I already said, I'm personally not really a fan of the blur tool. So I'm also going to show you 2 techniques I'm using for my backgrounds to just look not like that. The first way is right here. If you really want that blurred feeling to it, that out of focus vibe, I'm working with just big splotches of color, a bit of more textured brush, and then just putting color blobs on there, creating that blurred look in the background. It has got more of an artistic and painterly vibe to it, so if that is not your vibe in the pictures, try something else, but like, that is what I personally just really like. And the other way is right here, the illustration I made as my first YouTube video, by the way. Right here I just kind of drew out the background, but like I didn't give it too much detail. We got just more detail the further we went to the front. That is the front. So like in the back we've got less detail, and then we're continuing to give it detail the further we get to the front. But like you can see, the flowers also don't have as much detail because our focus point is slightly behind the flowers, therefore they are also not focused. And also working with color, the thing is, the further something goes back, the less saturated it gets. It gets more a gray tone, go a bit more into grayish areas, and therefore it also looks like it's further away. These were my 6 tips for the 6 mistakes every beginner artist makes in digital art. I hope you liked it. I hope you can take something from it. These 6 mistakes were just a few from the points on the list I made for this video. If you want a part 2, leave it in the comments, or if you got any other thing you want me to talk about, I'd be glad to hear from you what you guys want to see from me. So would love that. And subscribe, leave a like, and we'll see each other in the next video. Bye!